You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Welcome to the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast on the We Are Libertarians Network. I'm your host, Jeremiah Morrell, and as always, I'm joined by our co-host, Dakota Davis.
Hey, how's it going, Jeremiah?
We're here, and everything's great.
We're
That's after 8 o'clock. Our show is about our lives in rural Indiana. This is a show about folks who are involved in politics. We promise that our episodes are going to be a fun and an easy listen. Fun for sure tonight. We interview people who are influencers, elected officials, political experts, and folks who just find interesting. On my left is Chris Guffey, returning co-host, who meets none of those things whatsoever.
Absolutely zero.
Yeah. But he's
completely
an
agree.
American
He
hero.
doesn't even find you interesting.
He's a veteran.
I'm not.
So
It's okay.
So Chris covers all of those. But Rob Kendall, MS Communications, WIBC 93.1 is on the right, and he literally is all of those things.
So much, and yet so little at the same time.
You're an influencer.
Am I?
You're having a feud with the governor of the state all by yourself.
It's a feud that only I'm involved in. It's really great.
You were an elected official.
I was.
We'll get into that. You're a political expert, self-proclaimed.
Yeah, I'm an expert at myself, and that's about it.
And we know the audience is going to find you interesting. So, man, we're excited to be here, have you here.
Thank you guys for having me. We love the Boss Hog of Liberty. It's a tremendous show, and you all are tremendous Americans.
See, this is the stroking that I promised the world that would be here, and it's going to be a good 30 minutes each way, and then we'll have a little bit of time for commentary at the end. Dakota, what are we talking about tonight? You've got
we're talking about all kinds of things. This week, I got a brand new banner. Purchased a banner because we had an advertising banner in MVP Barbershop. Was not the best of quality.
It's the big time around here, Rob.
Yeah. And
They used to do a segment on Bob and Tom years ago. Mark Patrick did called My Town Brownsburg, and this totally reminds me of My Town Brownsburg.
You're listening to it right now, except it's Newcastle. And but in the MVP Barbershop, you go in there. There's a brand new banner hanging up, and at the Saved Games shop run by Travis Wyke
Or Week,
whatever. I don't know.
Bite starter.
Budweiser Wyke. That's it. But he has the old banner hanging up in there. He has a hand-me-down
you just
because
recycled it and gave it to him.
Well, he said that his shop was built on hand-me-downs, so it would feel wrong to not take it.
All right.
So I said, okay, you can tax it and steal it from us.
Reappropriate it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a county-owned building.
It is. Yeah.
We're
there, man.
That's like an official endorsement of the show from the county government.
When you win your county council race, will you start having all the meetings outside the shoe at the Hall of Fame?
We have two shoes. I don't know if we use the Hall of Fame shoe or the Steve Alford All-American Inn shoe. We have two shoes.
That's right.
Commissioner meetings will have to be at the Hall of Fame shoe, and the council meetings will be at the other.
I picture you like a Williams Jennings Bryan, having a stage out there in front of the shoe, and you have the crowd gathered around you as you whip them up into a frenzy.
We may have to have Chris May give us a permit to have a rally in front of the Hall of Fame museum.
And all of the meetings are going to be held after 6 because that's part of your transparency platform.
It is.
So
it is.
Well, they actually have meetings during the day.
Yeah, our county council meets at 3:30 because it's convenient.
Yep.
That's serious.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's serious.
Yeah. It's nuts, man.
I mean, it's not convenient for the working guys that want to, run for the county council and have to take time off work to go do their job. But, the department heads don't have to work over, so I guess it's okay.
So literally, unless you're retired or unemployed, you can't go to the meetings.
Or you have a lot of vacation time.
I get off work at 3, and I work here in Newcastle. But I work a labor-intensive job outside. So it's like if I want to go to the meeting, I'm going in my work clothes, and I'm sweaty, and you don't want to sit next to me in those meetings. But I try to make it there anyway.
Yeah, so that's one of the things we're talking about. Dakota released, helped me out with a first video in the Jeremiah Morrell for County Council campaign. It's available through our official Facebook page, the campaign page. And transparency is one of the top 5 reasons to vote for Jeremiah.
It is.
We want. We've done it with the Boss Hog podcast, where we've come out and covered meetings and tried to make things more accessible. But there's no reason our county government shouldn't have high quality video and audio of every meeting available.
It just floors me that they do it at 3:30 in the afternoon, just for no other reason other than it's convenient.
I mean, listen, some of the people that are on the council are too old to drive after dark, Rob.
I mean, when I was
Shots fired.
That's the excuse or the reason I've been given.
When I was running for town council, the guy I was running against actually used this in my campaign. He once left a meeting early because IU basketball was on. He said, "I gotta go."
Hey,
let's hurry up and vote.
listen.
IU basketball's on.
Listen,
right
Dane
there.
Fife won't cheer himself on, okay?
Yeah, County Councilman Clay Morgan, who also runs MVP Barbershop.
It's a very small town.
He is the one who he always advocates for every year at the beginning of the year. He always proposes meetings after 6 p.m. and it gets shot down every time.
We're going to nickname him Floyd. It's going to be his name because he runs the barber shop.
Yeah.
Floyd the Barber.
We're going to give all the councilmen names when the moral revolution takes place.
We're going to see what happens.
Yeah.
All right, so we're already falling behind, Dakota. You're supposed to be telling us about the
That's
Tinfoil
right.
Time episode that's available for our Patreon people, the premium people that literally pay the light bill around here.
That is right, yeah. We are, thanks to the Patreon people, we are getting into a new studio. We were talking about episode 77 is going to be the first episode in here, so we're only like 3 or 4 episodes away.
This is episode 73. We're actually going in order right now.
You're a part of history,
There's
Rob.
no trickery.
Yeah.
Will I get a brick at the new studio with my name on it?
Well, so Rob, if you can get me a sign, if you look around the studio in here, we have signs from all of these guests that have been on the program.
Oh, perfect.
You're sitting in a chair that's been held by people like Senator Mike Kreider, Representative Melanie Wright,
Oh, wow.
Representative Tom Saunders. These people have all been on this program. Rob Kendall has to have in a garage somewhere or in an attic a sign that says Brownsburg Town Council.
Oh, yeah. Collector's
So,
items.
I need one for the new studio.
I also have one of the great big ones. Would you like that? It's like 7 feet by 7 feet.
well,
Just making your backdrop.
Maybe what we'll do is we'll put it up on the outside of the building and see how long it takes the city to fine us for putting up public art that's not acceptable.
When council candidate Kenan Gray came on, who Jeremiah is running against, he brought a giant banner and we hung it across the table.
And I love that you guys are so fair that you actually have the guy you're running against on the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast.
We're applying for the same job.
I love that.
And Kenan and I talked for an hour and a half, and we've gotten to know each other.
And I think that's so both amazing and disappointing that you were civil about it.
Well, I mean, I'm civil. I don't know 60 days from now if Kenan and Pat, the other two that are in the race with me, will be civil with me. But we're applying for the same job. It's up to the voters. It's up to them.
Listen, Jeremiah, if Kenan ever steps out of line, then I will make a video that says, Kenan Gray.
You're going to get your Bobby Newport voice out?
Bobby Newport. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do. But yeah, of course, the Patreon episode this week was talking about the fluoride being put in our waters, and if it turns the freaking frogs gay.
Rob's going to leave if you go down this path.
No, if you want me to go down the path, then you have to listen to the episode that my lovely wife Audrey and I recorded last night. And to do that, you have to sign up on Patreon, and that's what pays the bills in this place. Like Jeremiah said, keeps the lights on. But also,
we're gonna have a rent payment, and it's serious.
Yeah. Also, speaking of rent payment, we are trying to market the show a little bit and get some businesses in. Maybe do a couple ads, maybe one ad or so an episode, and try to get a sponsorship going so that you can have your business logo right behind us. And Bob and Tom Show has the Napa Auto Parts Studio. We need a named studio.
We could be the Rob Kendall Studios for the right price.
That's perfect. The Rob Kendall Show could
could
bring you the Boss Hog of Liberty
show. The Boss
show.
Hog of Liberty brought to you by the Rob Kendall Show.
That'd be great. I've got that giant fat head still in my room of myself. You just put that up. That'd be fine.
It only costs $22,000 a year.
Wow, what a deal!
For Rob, I'll do it for 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll agree to that.
Yeah. It'd be fun.
This is really cool, though, that you have all the signs of all the,
Yeah. The signs that are in the studio are either campaigns that I volunteered on or worked on, or people that have been on the show.
Yeah.
So it's we tried during the election time to we drove ourselves crazy having all these candidates on because you had the same you probably have this on your show too. You have the same conversation with people over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But it's important.
But except I'm one of the few broadcasters in terrestrial radio that has guys like you on my program.
Correct. Absolutely. And I appreciate that very much. I was on your show a week ago Saturday.
We were talking about the Lobet.
Yes, absolutely.
And there's a podcast of that up on WIBC.com.
Absolutely. And it's in the Boss Hog feed. If people, I'm sure they've already listened. I think 400 people have already listened to it in our feed alone.
That's awesome.
I don't know who these people are, but
we know who some of them are. But we, for the listeners that have listened to everything, we have a survey going on right now, and you can find that on the Boss Hog of Liberty page. I'll also paste a link of that in the episode description whenever I post it, and that survey gives us demographics, information about you. It's all anonymous, but it gives us very vital information.
We promise.
Yeah. It gives us very vital information that a lot of potential advertisers want. So that is very important to us. And also, you get to tell us what you like about the show and what you don't like about the show. So that way we can kind of change and keep evolving to where we get better.
It's been like our own little express vehicle for hate mail this week.
Yeah. And also, if you so Rob, you've called Jeremiah for a long time Lion Jer. Right?
Lion Jer.
Yeah. Somebody said
it's going to show up in a campaign ad.
Thanks.
Somebody said in the dislikes, Jeremiah Morrell stretches the truth.
Greg Phipps taught me. I do the Sulphur Springs Mug Bog every year with Greg Phipps, who's the city water guy, and I've served on the Forage Association for 20 years. Greg taught me a long time ago, you never let the truth get in the way of a good story. That's life advice I've kept forever.
I had to bring that up for this episode. It was too fantastic not to. And because it's anonymous, we have no idea. Also, someone gave a really vulgar and weird like about the show, and it was... I'm not even going to say it out loud.
It was like Dakota and Jeremiah fantasies that these people have.
Yeah,
I
strange.
Whatever. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry Chase took the survey. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
All right. So let's actually introduce Rob. Rob's sitting here with us, and you are your day job now. You're wearing your WIBC 93.1 shirt, your polo shirt, and it's the radio station of my childhood.
Yeah, it is the station of record in the city of Indianapolis.
Yeah, I grew up listening. I lived on Messick Road, and I lived in the middle of nowhere here in Henry County, but we could get 1070. So I grew up listening to Terry Stacy and Steve Simpson and Dave Wilson and Big Joe Stasniak and those guys. And at least half of them are still in the building, right? There's been some turnover over time, but I mean, you are working at the blowtorch.
Yeah, when you're a kid, right? So there were two stations growing up that I listened to. You always listen to Bob and Tom with your parents going to work. If it was my dad,
right.
My mom would not let me listen to Bob and Tom, so I always tried to.
No, she was probably a big John Price fan.
Probably had a lot of Jimmy Buffett tapes and the now famous Bill Cosby chocolate cake tape, and but my dad, it was cool because you got to listen to Bob and Tom if he would take you to school, and then in the afternoon it was always names like Mike Pence, Rush Limbaugh, Dave the King Wilson, Big John Gillis and the Chopper.
Yeah.
WIBC was the place to be. I mean, it was like the guy in the Harry Chapin WOLD song. I mean, this is what it was like. That was the place to be. And it was this magical place where all these cool things happened, and everybody who was anybody in radio wanted to be on WIBC.
So your role over there now, you've been a little over a year at WIBC, somewhere in there?
They brought me in part-time as a fill-in host in December of 16 and then hired me full-time in June of 17.
Yeah,
nice.
And you've been like the super sub, where if Hammer and Nigel are out, it's the Rob Kendall Show, and so during the week you are. I don't know how you decide to set your alarm or when you decide you're showing up at work, but you're in there. You're in there constantly on the air,
man.
And then you're producing the Chicks on the Right, the mid morning show.
Yeah, so I produce for Chicks on the Right from 9 to 11 each day. They let me host the Speed Round, which is about a 15-minute segment where we pick a bunch of topics that are fun and we talk about those. And I'm pretty much the permanent fill-in guy. So I need somebody to die or retire, and then I might be the next guy up.
Somebody needs to make a major mistake. Twitter is a job ender for everything but the president.
Well, and the most likely one to do that is Tony Katz.
Well, you're also feuding.
If Tony goes, you've got like 9 hours to fill a day.
Yeah,
well, Rob is feuding with Tony Katz right now.
Yeah, Tony and I have I like to call it a budding rivalry. Because I think
did you steal one of his scarves?
Man, he is dressed to the nines every single day. I show up in shorts and a T-shirt because that's my God-given right as a radio talk show host. Then I have to care what I look like. He's always dressed in a suit jacket and a nice pair of pants, and it's like, man, if that's what it takes to get to the top, count me at the bottom.
Well, if you look good, you feel good.
Yeah. So Cat's probably the most likely to say something crazy on Twitter. Hammer and Nigel the most likely to drop an F-bomb and the producer not catch it. So either way, I got a pretty good shot.
So those guys, man, they are fun. They Hammer and Nigel do a great job of getting. They released a web video, an advertisement for the show that they recorded in the Antelope Club parking lot. Brad Klopfenstein, who's been on this show before, you can go back and watch him. Brad let them use his parking lot, and then Ben Polizzi, who's with the Espresso podcast. We're gonna have Joey Molinaro here in about a half an hour or so. Joey and Ben were here. Ben sat in your chair. He is, I don't know what he does at your station, but he works there. Apparently, he's just a model now. So he's out there for a car wash ad, just shirtless, being eye candy. I don't know.
Yeah, isn't Polizzi the total guy we all always hated, right? I mean,
Yes.
The guy looks
Yes.
like a Greek god, and you just say, "I hate you so much," because
But he's funny.
oh, he's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good
wanna
looking
hate
dude.
him.
He's a standout athlete. He was a great athlete in high school and college. Played football at Roncalli and
Yeah.
then in college. And he's a funny dude. Like he's the perfect man. I refer to Ben Polizzi as perfect man. he's like the WIBC's version of Tom Brady.
He's the
He's
exact
the perfect
opposite
man.
of our boy Dave Wilson. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it is. He got the good straw in life, and he should feel very blessed for that. And he also has like a place like I don't know if I think it's Mass Ave. He's got a killer place there.
Yeah, I watch it. He's got a rooftop or something. I watch on Snapchat all the time, and he's just creep shotting people. That's his evenings appear to be. He gets on Snapchat and just creep shots people.
His whole job is he literally just makes fun videos.
Yeah,
And then he runs the board occasionally.
good work if you can get it.
He is the man.
So before you got to WIBC, you've had this path, and we want to explore this a little bit because Dakota and I are living this. We are hobbyists. We say we volunteer our time here as long as the Patreon people help pay the bills. We don't want to reach into our own pocket to provide this service of the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast.
We have a lot.
Well, we have, but we tell our wives that it pays for itself.
Yeah.
So how do you got your start doing radio at a very small station over in Plainfield
In
or
Brownsburg. Yeah. It was literally like a WKRP. It was WKLU. I was 18 years old when I got my internship. The station was owned by two brothers. I mean, you couldn't make this stuff up. The Quinn brothers. One of them was legally blind, and they called him the Radio Pirate. And this station, great guys. I mean, they're just awesome guys. But it's the only sort of station that an 18-year-old could just show up one day and be like, "Hey, I'd like to help. What do you do? Whatever you need." So I was like taking out the trash. I was literally cutting their grass. I was driving the legally blind guy to Radio Shack once a day to get parts for the station. And it was in an abandoned pet store. The radio station was in an abandoned pet store.
Hopefully they sweeped up all the gerbil poo.
Well, the greatest part about it was when you went down into the basement, it all still smelled like cat pee.
Oh, that's amazing.
Lovely.
It was, I mean, it's the sort of stuff that countless people have gotten their starts at places like this. And now that I'm, 16 years on from that, it's like, man, I miss that. That was really fun. I'd really like to go back to be 18 and have to go through that again because it was a great experience.
Yeah. I think there's this certain nostalgia that comes with doing your first job, right? And you hate it whenever you're doing it and you're a teenager, but then once you get past that stage and you hit adulthood and all your money is not going to just whatever you want to do on the weekends, then you're like, God, I could have had so much more fun if I'd known.
It's
Take me
fascinating
back.
because I begged for 6 months to get in there. And like I think back on that, and that's what I'm most fond of is that they kept telling me no, and I kept showing back up. And I finally just told them one day, I'm like, I'm going to start showing up every single day. I am going to work for free for you. Give me something to do, something. And finally they said yes, and it's weird. Like I remember Martin Luther King Day 2002 was my first day there. I remember putting gas in my car to go. I remember being there. I remember learning. And I remember this one guy in sales. He always referred to himself in the third person. And so the first day they're like, go with this guy. His name was Charlie, but he always referred to himself as the cheese. And so he kept talking about what the cheese would do. And finally I just looked at him and I'm like, who's the cheese? He's like, I'm the cheese.
He was setting you up the entire time, just
I know.
waiting.
The whole thing, the cheese thinks this, the cheese thinks that. It was like Jimmy from the Seinfeld episode.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great.
Jimmy Jumps high.
Oh, God.
So you, when I first met you, you were doing some stuff with the We Are Libertarians Network. At some point, you've met our boy Chris Spangle, and you were co-hosting or doing some work over there, which is our syndicator. And then at the first time I actually met you, I think I was Rex Bell's campaign manager, and we stopped by, and you were at the at 98.9 WYRZ over in Brownsburg.
Yeah.
So it just kind of evolved over time. And
Yeah, so I really detoured. I took a very disastrous and stupid 4-year break for elected office, which I've tried to talk you out of repeatedly because it's absolutely the worst sentence you can give to a man. The
Public
death
service.
penalty or public service. I would choose the death penalty knowing what I know now. But I did that, and then
So that was full time? You were doing that, or you just got off the radio?
I just got off radio.
Okay.
But I did do the Rob Kendall Show on the We Are Libertarians network with Spangle, which he was really nice and ran that show, and we did that for about a year and a half. And radio was always my love, though. And so when my time on town council was up, I told everybody I was going to serve one term. Nobody believed me. Time came. I said, I'm not running again. And a lot of people wanted me to run for state senate. Old Lion Pete Miller was representing District 24 in the Senate at the time, and we definitely didn't care for him. And so I thought about doing that, and ultimately decided that I want to go back to radio. And radio is where my heart has been. It's where my love is, and it's awesome to be back.
So you basically ground. You put the hours in and got noticed and got on the radar, and at some point that you just kind of get the break and the opportunity.
Yeah. You got to keep grinding. And there was a local radio station that had opened in Brownsburg out of the community radio. One thing Obama did that was great was he really did get the idea of community radio, and they opened up a whole bunch of local frequencies, low power frequencies to serve communities. And Brownsburg got one of those, and so I went back to those guys and said, hey, I'd like to do a local talk show, kind of what you guys are doing on a daily basis. We're interviewing people that are making news in the community and doing things that are worthwhile. And
there's really not a lot of shows like this or like yours out there.
That's why this is so good.
That
what
are
you guys
doing
do.
Political talk where you were getting guests, you were getting statewide elected officials to a town. How many people are in Brownsburg? 20, 30,000 people?
Yeah, about 30,000 probably now.
And it's the same kind of a thing where we look around and we're like, we're a tiny little podcast, but at the same time, there's nobody else doing what you're doing. We're the only political talk east of Indianapolis.
Yeah, well, what you guys are doing is what radio was built on. It's the idea of how it all started, right? People in communities sharing information, and you guys do that so well. I mean, it really is fun to listen to, even though I don't live in this community. It's fun to listen to because that's what radio is supposed to be all about. And these guys moved these signals, and they figured out, hey, we can move this here and make it worth a lot more money.
Right. And see, what's been weird is that only 65 to 70% of our listeners are actually in Indiana.
Yeah.
And then of that percentage that's in Indiana, only 50 to 60% are in Henry County.
Yeah.
So even though we're locally focused, we're everywhere. We had a listener from Finland that took the time to do our survey today. That's the weirdest thing to me.
That's great. Yeah, that's what radio is all about, and that's why this is so good.
Yeah, we have a Patreon. One of our largest Patreon donors, Craig DeCosta. He lives in Hawaii. So it's just it's everywhere, and it's so. I don't know. That's one of the things that keeps me going the most is knowing that even though we are hyperly local, there is an impact to be had in other states and even other countries.
Yeah.
Because local governments are always screwing up.
One of the things that I used to do
until I get elected.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
You'll fix it all.
That's right.
And you won't have any headaches with it, and you won't get burnt out, and it'll be great. I used to listen to Coast every night when I was a kid, speaking of WIBC. And
rest in peace, Art Bell.
Yeah, Art Bell was awesome, and George Norrie and those guys. And you used to hear people that would call, west of the Rockies, and it was like you could picture that person. Radio's the last great theater of the mind, right?
Well, you used to listen. I mean, Greg Garrison was on forever,
yeah.
And he had Phil Incipio. The guy would call in every single day. You just have regulars and you get to know them. Yeah. I have, it's an incredible medium. And now in the podcasting world, we all micro broadcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult to have the staying power of a Bob and Tom where the entire city listens, because people get in their car and they'll stream iHeart or they'll stream Pandora, or they've got their playlist, and everybody's had CDs, but to actually have one big network that everybody's listening to it's very difficult. But at the same time, you create a community, and it's a very intimate relationship with the radio host that you have.
Yeah, and you learn so much, like from what you guys do. I mean, you mentioned Mike Kreider. All right, so how many times are people going to get an opportunity to hear a state senator and actually have some quasi-intelligent questions posed to the guy with some pretty intellectual people who know what they're talking about. I mean,
right, and the difference is that whenever they come on our show, whenever Mike Kreider comes on our show, Tom Saunders, Melanie Wright, whenever they come here, it's an hour and a half of uninterrupted conversation about what they do, the things that they are doing, and what they expect to do. Because, I mean, no offense, Rob, but the difference on radio stations is that it's different things being talked, and then you're interrupted with the same amount of commercial time. Here, it's just me and you, and we're talking for an hour and a half straight.
And there's so little of that out there. And, one of the things I think you guys are married now, so you get it, that, as you get married and you start a family and things like that, and I've found this in my life with my wife, Haley, you start to appreciate things that have led you to where you are, right? Things
100%. Yeah.
They just the things that didn't mean a lot to you. You look back on those things and go, "Wow, that's part of the community. That's part of being where it is." And it took me, in my case, getting married to my wonderful wife Haley, to realize those sort of things, right? That time is not forever. Life is finite. Yeah. It's not infinite. And these little things in the community that you love is what makes the world go around.
Well, and there's that maturity level too, where you don't know that you love them until all of a sudden, one day it hits you, and you're like, "Wow, I really actually enjoy this community." Because if you're raised somewhere and you go to high school in these little cities and towns, and you just think, "My God, I can't wait to get out of here." Everybody in small town Indiana has that feeling, and then you grow up. Some people do move away, and I don't know why I stayed. I just did, right? I got a job and I stayed, and now I'm married, and I realize I have it really, really good here. There's so many things here that you can't get in other places.
I've been a lot of other places. I've lived other places. I've visited other places. I love this community. Small town Indiana, living in Henry County, I can be in downtown Indianapolis in 45 minutes, and I've got access to a major metropolitan area, and I can fly anywhere I want to out of the Indianapolis airport in no time. But man, the cost of living is great. The community is nice, and you can know the barber, you can know the manager of the grocery store. There's so much going for Midwestern rural Indiana.
Yeah, you're invested in where you live, and not to say that people in Indianapolis aren't invested in where they live, but they don't probably know their council members, right? I mean, they don't know the mayor, in your case.
They don't all know you by name and have an opinion on you.
Right. And, and it's one of the things that, my wife helped me realize is sometimes you can get a little too invested in it, right? I mean, that became my whole existence for a while. Yeah. Because you love the place. You love it so much. And, you guys grew up here, and like I grew up in Brownsburg, you can get so invested in something, and you want it to work so well that it encompasses you.
Yeah, you realize that you're one of the people that actually exist in the place that you live, that love it and want to see it be better.
Yeah,
you're
right.
So that very easily can consume you to where you're making it a point to go to all the meetings. Yep. You want everybody to know what's going on at the meetings. You want to talk to all the elected officials about the things that they did wrong. And then you're like, I need to take a step back because this podcast, it is a hobby. This doesn't pay my bills.
And that's one of the major reasons why I didn't run for state senate is I realized this thing consumed me for 4 years, and I loved every second of it, and I was really good at it. But do you really want to spend 4 more years with something consuming you that 50 years from now, I don't know if it really matters, I mean,
well, the seat that you're running in, Jeremiah, how long was it?
Dick Bauslog was elected in 1978, and he's retiring now. So it's an open seat.
So he started in the Carter administration.
He was elected when Carter was president. Our biggest. This came up at the last council meeting, and he's got the institutional knowledge, but he was elected before we built the jail the last time, and now it's old and outdated. And that's our biggest problem in this race. The biggest thing the council's got to solve was how we're going to pay for a new jail. And he was on the council the first when we built the last one.
And that's such a hard thing, right? Because you love people that want to serve, but man, that's a long time, right? I mean, the world changes and the people change, and Man, I was sick of it after 4 years. I was ready to go home and take a nap. I can't imagine for 40.
40 is a long.
It's a long time.
It's a long
10
time.
terms, man.
Yeah.
I can pledge right now that the voters won't keep me for 40 years.
So Robbie, you mentioned that you told him you're going to show up every day unpaid. So to get our slot on WIBC, do I have to keep sending Abdul our MP3 files week after week?
You'll need to send Abdul fabulous cigars. It's hard to get in now. It's really, really hard to get in. And I see these guys that there's some really good people that send all these resumes and they send, just tapes and everything else. And there's not a lot of jobs in radio anymore.
Well, I mean, I'm already signed up to the man's email list.
Well,
what else do I have to do?
I think if you,
Abdul doesn't even have a show, Dakota.
yeah, I think if you're counting on Abdul, other than counting on him to be at Nikki Blaine's at 4 every day, you're probably barking up the wrong tree.
You know what? Chris Spangle takes care of me pretty well, so
That's right.
I might stay there for now.
Generous and thorough. So another community, it's a business, but a community service thing you do, something you provide to the community that, by the way, makes you a little bit of money, is Audio Sports Online.
Yeah.
And you broadcast local high school football games.
Yeah,
online.
Everything. Yeah, we do basically web TV and web radio for high schools across the country. You can sit on your smartphone or computer and listen to it or watch it just like you would on television.
You just attend thousands of high school football games and broadcast them all.
I do not anymore. I occasionally have to do some football games now. Now, 10 years ago or 12 years ago when we started this, yes, I would put in the 200 games a year. I have taken priority to marriage now, which has limited my...
I'm noticing a lot of similarities between you and I. of totally getting consumed by a project, right? And like letting it just consume all of your time, energy, and money.
Well, that's what my personality, right? It goes from one thing to the next. And so we broadcast high schools all over the country. High school football starts tomorrow night, which
Absolutely.
is awesome. There's nothing like the first night of high school football, man.
The Noblesville Fighting Millers, the Fighting Moths, will be at Lucas Oil Stadium tomorrow night.
Fighting Moths.
That's right. And we'll actually be broadcasting. I won't be, but I'll have somebody there doing the HSE Lawrence Central game, which is game number 2.
There you go.
So we'll be out there. Sports is much better than politics because nobody threatens to kill you during your service. You can just announce the game and
you're not so much getting threatened. Your life getting threatened anyway. You have a stalker who loves you.
Yeah, I do.
What is this about?
So I have I have a gay stalker. It's great. His name is Mr. Green on Twitter. What we do on the Chicks on the Right is we have a lot of fun, and so we like to read fan mail and hate mail. We do like hate mail better than fan mail. We play the Forrest Gump feather theme if it's fan mail behind it. Read it in full on the air, and we play the Young and the Restless theme if it's hate mail. And yes.
So I understand the Chicks on the Right getting hate mail, but you are getting your own.
Oh, yes. Because I'm very people hate my appreciation for Donald Trump.
You forgot your red hat tonight. I cannot believe you didn't bring it.
Appreciation.
Yeah, my appreciation for God and for Trump. It's so fascinating how passionate people get about things because I try to be I do like Donald Trump. I am a big fan, but I try to be somewhat a character of what a Trump superfan might be, and people take it so literally. They just go insane.
Do you have any suspicions on who it is? Chris Spangle, maybe?
No, I think Mr. Green's a real guy. Like, he's a real fan of the Chicks on the Right.
Has he sent pictures? He's sent selfies?
No, he's never sent any selfies.
You should ask for him.
That's
what needs to happen.
I think we have a very clear understanding of how much I love my wife and how straight I actually am, and it'll all be fun and games until someone gets touched.
It might be Boss Hog of Liberty's own Chase Payton. Or as we like to call him in our Boss Hog of Liberty group chat, not gay Chase.
Poor guy. So you were on, speaking of touching, you were on Hammer and Nigel yesterday talking about the Indianapolis City Councilman.
Yeah, those guys, 2 out of their, what is it? Is it 27 guys they've got in their council? So 2 out of 27 were accused of inappropriately touching children. It was 8% of the city council under some sort of investigation. It was really...
Thankfully, 0% of the Newcastle Council is facing those allegations.
The Indianapolis City County Council sounds a lot like the Catholic Church right now.
It's you feel bad, but you get the representation you deserve. And this Jeff Miller guy, I don't know him personally, but he struck me as a guy who was not, and this sounds weird to say, he was not malicious in his action And you almost go, well, how could you be accused of touching kids and not be malicious in your action? He didn't touch. While what he did was inappropriate, it was almost a guy that's just so aloof and out of touch of normalcies of society. You just want to say, you don't necessarily belong in prison, but you shouldn't be allowed to interact with others.
You definitely shouldn't be deciding on our taxes.
Yeah.
So kind of like Trump thinking that you need an ID to go to the grocery store.
He was talking about alcohol. You got to have alcohol to buy booze. But no, you look at a guy like that and you say, a troubled guy who made a very bad decision. Some people are very upset that he's not going to spend time in jail, provided he meets the terms of his, sentencing. But
Right.
You look at the affidavit on the guy in the report, and I think he's getting the punishment he deserves, and hopefully he'll just be ostracized from the community.
But he did narrowly miss the being placed on the sex offenders list.
Well,
correct?
he has Jim Voiles as his attorney, and as we all know,
That's the best money can buy.
You want to walk.
Sean Rao, Liberty Defender Sean Rao is the best that money can buy. Okay, Jeremiah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's
of course.
let's make that clear.
Of course.
You
He's the
gave him
second
$1.
best. Yeah, Sean is the official attorney of the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast. But if I'm like Tony Stewart and accidentally hit a guy with my car, I'm probably going to retain both Sean and Jim Voiles.
Ooh, tag team.
Yeah. Yeah. So all right, before we get to our 8:00 call with Mr. Molinaro,
We call him Spielberg around the office.
Spielberg, huh?
Because he is a videographer extraordinaire. I mean, that guy makes masterpieces.
The Espresso Show, man. They before they were podcasts, they just made these funny videos.
Yeah.
Is he kind of like Steven Spielberg, in which he hates some of his own work?
Well, here's the thing, and I know you guys are probably like this too because you know so many people. Now, at the Boss Hog of Liberty, you have so many fans that I always just forget people's names. I know so many people, so I just started giving them nicknames because I called everybody Buddy for a while, and then that was catching on that everybody was called the same name. So I just started giving people nicknames, and so half the office hates me if I give them a bad nickname. So
'Cause it sticks.
Yeah, he's Spielberg.
So, we're vamping here for a few minutes, waiting on the clock. We're not used to having a clock around here. This is very new, so we're rookies.
You're becoming pros.
We've got our yellow rookie stripe on the back bumper of the car here of the Boss
Yeah,
Hog
we do.
Chevrolet.
A Chevrolet, huh?
Sure, why not? Until Honda comes up with some bigger money. You were working as a staff member for the Marlin Stutzman
Yes.
for Senate campaign.
Yes.
And you just played hooky the last day of the campaign.
Yeah, I
because you
went
got an
AWOL.
offer you couldn't refuse.
Yeah, so Marlin was. By the way, can we just say this? How lucky is the governor? He goes from being third in a three-way Senate race to being the lieutenant governor to being the governor. That man should have bought a Powerball ticket.
He did it in like 60 days.
Yeah, it's the most incredible thing ever. But yeah, I worked for Morrell and Stutzman, and those guys were super nice to me. They let me keep doing my radio show. That was part of my deal. I said, I'm not going to lose my radio show.
Yeah, I can't work for you for 4 months and then have a real job at the end of this, right?
Yeah, because I said, I told them when they hired me, I said, no offense, I'm not going to bank everything on this guy winning a Senate race, which was a good move in hindsight. Although I do truly think
he would have been a fine senator.
I think he would have won had Holcomb stayed in the race, because I think the Young and Holcomb were pulling votes from each other, and so. However, ironically, I think Evan Bayh would have beat Morrell and Stutzman, because I think Todd Young ran a phenomenal campaign. Todd Young,
because he was the Marine.
Yeah, he was in the Marines. He was at the tip of the spear behind a computer.
Was he?
I don't know if you guys know that.
I didn't know that.
Guffey, were you a Marine?
No. I no. I was in the Army, National Guard.
You
yeah.
didn't eat any of the crayons that Craig Armstrong brought us.
Nope. Didn't eat crowns, but I'm not a jarhead. I am not some of the toughest people in the Navy. Because if you look at Marines, little pay stub, it says Department of the Navy. I know I'm going to get a lot of flack, but it's true.
Yeah,
It
I
really
asked,
does? Does it really?
Yeah,
it sure
oh,
does.
yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't know that at
part
all.
of the Department of the Navy.
I asked Todd one time if he loved the song "In the Navy," and he didn't answer that question. But it's kind of weird how Stutzman probably would have won that primary, but probably would have lost to Evan Bayh. So it's weird how it all kind of works out. But yes, the day before the primary ended, I got asked to interview President Trump.
Well, candidate Trump.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So
he
you
was
went
always
to-
president to me.
You went
From the day he got off the escalator in New York.
Chris Bengal wants to know if Haley Kendall, if she's still called Buddy.
No, she's called the love of my life, the absolutely most important person I love the most.
She said that clearly radio is his love.
Haley is my love. I meant that radio is my professional love.
Listen, Haley, this is a podcast. not a radio. So
you went to
podcasting is his love.
You went to the giant degree deodorant stick on West Street. and if you're not from Indianapolis, you can Google the JW Marriott and look at the picture and you'll go, oh yeah, that's exactly what it is. And there were like 3 people that got to do an interview.
Yeah.
With them. I mean, it was exclusive.
Yeah.
Somehow you got selected or emailed the right person.
Well, so the deal is, Trump is like Santa Claus. He's watching all year long, and he knows who's been naughty and who's been nice.
And you had been on the Trump train from day 0.
Yeah. I love
from escalator coming down.
When he used the term rapists and thugs or whatever it was, talking about the people coming from Mexico, I said, "There's my boy.
Oh.
That's my guy."
Oh no,
no. I liked Trump because he agitated all the right people. Right? I mean, he agitated everybody in both parties, and when because the Republicans are just as big
wait, both parties?
Both parties.
All 3 parties.
Well, all 3 parties.
Libertarians were triggered too.
Although I feel like there were a lot of libertarians who, when you would catch them in moments of honesty, they'd go, I kind of like some of what this guy stands for.
Yeah, we like half of what Republicans claim to like and half of what Democrats claim to like, right?
Yeah, but they never govern that way.
Yeah, but, you did get a tax cut.
Yeah, so...
We didn't get spending cuts, which is what a libertarian would have also advocated for or demanded.
And
but,
he did run on a really good platform for libertarians on foreign policy, other than the wall, of course, but...
Now, careful, Dakota. I don't want you to have to go back.
Of course, he dropped bombs like all the other Republican presidents.
But at least it wasn't soldiers. At least it wasn't soldiers for once.
You're right. We didn't have a ground war. It was just an air attack.
That little light show cost us about $50 million. It was great. It was awesome.
I mean, isn't that what Obama did? I mean, he won a peace prize and he dropped more bombs than any other president before him.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
He killed more Middle Eastern children than any other president before him, and he still won a Nobel Peace Prize.
I always say Donald Trump is the president America deserves, right? I mean, we have created this environment where these thugs and mobsters, Harry Reid's a mobster, right? I mean, the guy goes into Washington broke and comes out a multi-gazillionaire. I mean, he does that because...
Yeah, but he gave an eye. So.
Yeah, he gave all. Some gave all, and Harry Reid gave none.
Eye.
But these people roll over for the politicians because they say, oh, he looks good in a suit. Oh, he talks nice. Oh, he pretends to care about me. They don't care about you. They don't care about you at all. They care about themselves and enriching themselves. That's why their trading laws are different. That's why things they can do are different. That's why they exempted themselves from Obamacare. I just felt like Trump was the guy that could make everybody miserable, and I really liked that.
So at the time you got to go, it was basically down to Ted Cruz, the senator,
Old Lion Ted. Puts the Bible up, tells the truth, puts the Bible down, lies. Call him Lion Ted.
And the basketball ring incident, and which I was in the room for that.
I was going to say you were there.
I was there. Jesse Riddle and I were in Knightstown. We walked from his house over to the Hoosier Gym and watched it happen.
Did you boo when he did that?
I was the biggest thing of me for the night was that our boy Clay, Floyd the Barber, and Chad Malacote, friends of the show, they gave the invocation and the entrance. They were the local Republicans that introduced him.
Didn't Clay do the prayer?
Yeah, Clay did the prayer, and Chad was the MC. So I was taking pictures of my friends that were there and just kind of hanging out.
Yeah. So here's kind of what happened. Trump, I would say Trump's like a gorilla. You could put him at a Wendy's at 2 a.m. and 10,000 people show up. And
okay, be careful about talking about apes. We know what happened to Rosie O'Donnell.
I mean, he is King Kong, right? People are fascinated, whether you like him or you hate him. People are fascinated by Trump. And they'll come to the rallies, and he'll fill up the fairgrounds, and he'll fill up the Carmel Palladium. But that doesn't always work well in primaries because it's so much about grassroots politicking. And Cruz was really good at that. Cruz had, 50 people on a phone bank everywhere. And he would go to the Oasis Diner in Plainfield, and there'd be 300 people there. And one of the things that the Trump campaign, it was so skeleton in Indiana. It was Rex Hurley and Tony Samuel and a bunch of volunteers. And by the way, their volunteer campaign, incredible. It was like 30 people who would go, okay, I'm going to I don't even know if it's in business anymore, but the Shoney's in Kendallville. I don't even know if there is a Shoney's in Kendallville. I'm gonna be there from 1 to 3. By 1:30, all the signs are gone. Gave away 300 signs. I mean, it was totally organic, grassroots stuff.
They would just come get it.
Yeah, people would just show up because they'd see it on the Facebook page and go get it, and they'd give them out. But Trump was not good at grassroots. He didn't really have volunteers. He didn't have paid staffers, and so they recognized, hey, Cruz is doing really well in a lot of these Republican counties in terms of grassroots. And they said, how can we do grassroots without because let's face it, Trump's not going to go knock on doors, right? I mean, Trump's not going to show up at your door. He's not going to show up at the local public library. They said, how can we do this with what we have to work with? And they said, well, this guy is a safe guy to put him with. He has a lot of listeners in the third most or fourth most Republican county in the state. Let's put him out there. And it was awesome. It was totally life-changing.
And what was the word that he used to describe you?
Terrific.
That is right.
Said he wished every interview could be just like this. Now,
and you have a picture of him, and he's given the infamous thumbs up.
Yeah, it's us shaking hands, and he's so happy, and it was like Field of Dreams, man. I mean, it was literally. At the end, I wanted to ask him if he wanted to play a game of catch. You know,
what was he like in person?
So, two things that stood out. Number one, it's just like Apprentice, because I was the first guy in there, and they put you in a room by yourself. And
did he fire you?
He loved me.
Did he call you a dog?
He did not call me a dog, nor did he threaten to fire me. He actually, the best part about it was, they have a very strict timetable, because they go from one guy to the next. And I think the Daily Mail was after me. And so they say, hey, you got to be on the timetable, and your 15 minutes are up, and we're basically going to hit you with a cattle prod if you're not out of your seat when your time's up. You get done, so I'm wrapping everything up. He keeps talking. And, he just keeps rolling and rolling. And the ladies, the handlers, giving me the signal, you got to go. And I'm like, the guy's still talking. I'm not leaving. Come on. He was so nice. He's such a genuine guy. And I told him when we got done, I said, if people saw this side of you, this is totally different than Twitter Trump. This is what the world's leaders see. This is what the cabinet sees.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
If people saw this side of you, they would have a totally different opinion. I mean, we started talking about he was giving me life advice. It was like
so you know who
he
else
told you
said
to marry Haley.
Yeah, he absolutely did. He said, "You wed that girl quickly."
So you know who else said the same thing? Is Alex Jones.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. I heard Alex Jones said the exact same thing whenever he was on Joe Rogan's podcast, the 9/11 episode.
I mean, he was literally giving me life advice, because he said, well, what do you do with your life? And I was telling him about town council, and then I was telling him getting back into radio, and I said, I'm going to give this a year and see what happens. He goes, follow your dreams, man. He goes, I follow my dreams all the time. And it was just like, holy crap, this guy's going to be the freaking president, and he's sitting here talking to some guy he doesn't know. The other part about Trump that was so amazing is he walks in. I'm the only guy in there. Not once did anybody ask me beforehand or during the interview, what do you want to talk to him about? He walks up, shakes my hand, very nice to meet you.
And you asked him about wrestling.
Yeah, he said, let's roll. It is no wonder he is put in the position where he makes some of the flubs he does, and I'm sure it's changed since he's been president. But, man, the lack of institutional control. I guarantee if you had interviewed Ted Cruz, it would have been list of questions, don't deviate from the questions. If you deviate from the questions, you'll be immediately removed. He didn't ask me anything. Wow. I could have asked him anything.
So that was the other thing I wanted to ask you about, doing our little section of shop talk before we get to the phone call, was how you prepare for your show. So since the beginning, we didn't really have show notes in the beginning. The show notes originally,
the first show notes were written on a used paper plate.
Yeah, and then I kind of got crazy.
Yes. So it was only a sandwich, Chris. It wasn't like there was ketchup stains on it. Or anything.
So like we talked about before, I get obsessive over things.
Yeah.
So I took over the role of the show notes and doing all that, and I kind of freak out if I don't have these sitting next to me. So I'm curious as to how you do it for a radio show.
Well, one of the people that's really good for helping me prepare is my wife. She's really good to bounce stuff off. She's conservative. She's into politics. She works in government. She's really good at her job. So she's really good to bounce things off of. Like if I'm going to interview somebody, especially, what do you think about this? And we'll sit around and talk politics a lot of times. And she's really great to bounce ideas off of because, one, it's a female perspective, right? Because guys think different than girls.
Oh, my wife is the same way. Like she's watching now. She watches the entire thing live and then gives me feedback at the end of every episode. Like, this needs to change. You need to do this with the audio.
Yeah.
Things like that. And
it's
we change it that way.
It's really interesting because I'm a clown, right? I mean, I'm a character. I've created a character, and she's the polar opposite of me. Everybody likes Haley and everybody thinks highly of her, and she's very reserved. And so she offers a lot of really good advice in terms of, hey, maybe you should ask him about this, or maybe you should talk about that. I don't like to prepare. I like to feel it. My bosses don't like that.
I'm the same way. I read the show notes once. It will be fine. Dakota's
that's why I like to do
all the detail.
I like to do the outline. I like to do a lot of research.
Yeah.
and learn about the things we're going to talk about. That way, I'm really good whenever it comes in.
Yeah.
All right. Because if I can't do freeform stuff,
we are We have reached the appointed time. We'll see if this works live on the air. We don't have we use Skype. We don't have the we don't have brilliant software and people on hold, but it's ringing. I hope Joey doesn't answer, and it's his phone number, and we have to unplug immediately, and so we don't dox him.
Oh.
Hello.
There he is.
Hey, there's the man of the hour, Joey
happening?
Molinaro. Is this the right number? Did we call the right one?
This is the right number.
Okay, good.
This is so we have.
I'm
on
hearing
the
a little
line,
echo.
Uh-oh.
Well,
It's not there anymore.
all right, good. Thank God. 'Cause gonna be honest, Joey, we don't have a lot of technology to fix it.
He's frantically turning knobs, Joey.
I'm looking at knobs. You are. This is the Bob and Tom show. It's the it's the Rob Kendall, Jeremiah Morrell, Chris Galt, Chris Guffey, and Dakota Davis experience. Boss Hog of Liberty.
Chris Galt is next week.
Chris Galt's next week. Yes. And we have Joey Molinaro of the Espresso Podcast. Joey, you just released episode 31 this week.
Yeah, the Reggie Miller shot. It was a fun one.
You guys, at the beginning of that episode, you said it's the 31 is the only guy you could think of as Reggie Miller. And I'm going, no, that's Al Unser Jr., man. He won his second Indy 500 in the Marlboro Team Penske car, 94. But you give me no love.
Yeah, we're just thinking guys who need statues in Indy, and we went with Reggie on that one. So Al didn't quite make the cut. I know he's got that museum though that looks pretty impressive as well. So you got a point.
Yeah, that's
we
all
go
right.
with the Al Unser shot. Yeah,
It's the baby Al, little Al. So you have as we read your bio, of course you go to WIBC and they have a very thorough website. And there's even a bio for Joey Molinaro on there that talks about your school. And we just do a lot of research on our guests, and it says you went to Roncalli High School. Is that correct?
I did. Class of 2012.
Class of 2012. God,
Oh man.
2012.
Yeah.
Hey,
So Jeremiah, you were
okay.
You were like 35 back then.
yeah, I'm class of 2001. I'm the world's oldest millennial, Joey.
All right. Don't feel bad, Joey. I'm the class of 2014.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Dakota, and you got a house already. That's like the coolest house ever, and I got some apartment I can't freaking walk in, so I can't,
Hey,
I can't
listen,
complain.
Joey, move to Newcastle, and we can share the same lifestyle. I promise.
That's what you guys are saying. You know, me and my fiance, we're gonna have to do some serious talking, and may make it out there with the Boss Hog crew. So
You got to get RC
she's
to move out
sitting
here.
right here next to me. So
She'll have some fun in Newcastle. She's got a friend out here already.
yeah, exactly. We know
Exactly.
some people.
She'll be all right. So
Right.
we're just minding our own business, and I don't know. Monday morning, all of a sudden, Facebook goes to hell. Your alma mater, Roncalli, like the second most famous Catholic high school in Indianapolis, I would say.
Damn, that's harsh, man. You're gonna have a guest on there and just completely spit all over his school.
So Roncalli's in the news. My co-host, his bladder is full and he's walking away. He's just leaving me in peril. So your school has made the news. There's a guidance counselor, Shelley Fitzgerald, who since you just graduated from there, I'm sure you actually know this person. She got in trouble or got doxxed, I guess, by somebody in the parish for having a marriage with somebody that's not a dude. Is that basically your understanding?
Yeah. So I guess they flagged that, and apparently they weren't happy with it, so they turned it in to the archdiocese, from my understanding, and then that was kind of handed down to my alma mater. Yeah, and Miss Fitzgerald she was my counselor while I was there. So my 4 years that I was there, I met with her a couple times a year. You know, she helped me start looking at colleges, figure out what I was wanting to do.
She's the reason you are where you are today, basically, is what you're saying.
Yeah, definitely.
So, did you have an opinion? Was this on your radar before we was like, hey, Joey, we know you and you went to Roncalli. Let's burden you with this. Did you have an opinion?
Yeah. So I mean, I knew about it on Sunday because my middle sister. I've got two sisters. My middle sister. This is actually her first year of teaching at Roncalli. So she graduated in 2015 from Roncalli, And then she got hired to be a U.S. history teacher there. And so in her first week, you got this firestorm going on. So lots to handle for the rookie teacher there. But she knew about it, and I had seen everything that was blowing up on Facebook and social media on Sunday, actually. So then by the time it got to Monday, I mean, yeah, it was already almost 24 hours in the news cycle for the folks on the south side of Indy.
So Monday morning, Roncalli still had it on there. They still had a Facebook page at that time, and they had released a statement saying, "Hey, because we're going to suspend this teacher, this employee. I guess she's not actually a teacher. I don't know. I was homeschooled, so I don't know how to decide if somebody's a teacher or an employee or what they are. The staff member, Miss
Right.
Fitzgerald." Or Mrs. Fitzgerald, I guess. I don't know. Pronouns are troublesome. So,
Oh my God!
Whole new trouble here.
Did we just get there? Like,
We're
I
there.
thought that I had said some pretty racy things during this episode.
So the school releases the statement, and I was impressed that they still let people comment, but they said, pursuant to our contractual agreement, we're suspending basically this person.
Yeah.
And I looked at it. I always have a little bit of a different way to look at the world, and I'm like, man, somebody just weaponized a marriage license. And as libertarians, this is a libertarian show, but in general, we come by it naturally. We always say government shouldn't be in marriage. So everybody celebrated, 3 or 4 years ago when all of a sudden we got gay marriage across the country. Okay, now everybody can go get married. So now, instead of just two individuals saying, "Hey, we have a partnership and we're together and we want tax benefits," they went to Hancock County and they said, "Hey, we want to have a marriage certificate and we want to be included." And somebody literally weaponized that and used it against them, and now it's potentially going to cost her job.
Yeah, I mean, that's way more up your guys' alley than what I know. My mind's pretty limited, so all the political mumbo jumbo, yeah, that was awesome stuff there, Jeremiah. But no wonder you're running for office, there, guy. You got it down. Just say that something's being subsidized, or say that the tax benefit isn't good enough, and then you're good. Everybody will think you know what you're talking about.
You'll believe it.
At least that's how I look at it.
I mean, you bring up the tax money, and if Roncalli has received $6.5 million in vouchers from the state of Indiana in the past 5 years. So that has been one concern with people that have been observing this story from the outside and saying, how can they take taxpayer money and not be upheld to the same laws as other public institutions?
Yeah, so there's a there's a state representative, Dan Forrestal, who's from Indianapolis. You may have known him too. He's a Roncalli guy. He's
actually I didn't know him until I saw that article.
Yeah, so he's you can't offer a bill right now; they're out of session. But he's saying he's going to bring up a bill to basically take the money away from the school. If you have this sort of a policy, then he's saying, you know what, we're just not going to let you have any public money if you're going to have this sort of policy.
Well, and Rob, you have some thoughts on that, correct?
Well, so look, here's the deal. She had a contract, right? And we can all have our own opinion on marriage. I know as libertarians you hate traditional marriage.
No, we just hate having to have a permission slip.
No, and I'm with you on that, and I think I've been pretty candid about that. But she had a contract, right? And you can like the contract or not like the contract. If she didn't want the terms of the contract, she should have gone somewhere else. Now, we can think that's a bad law. It's a bad rule. Maybe she's a great counselor. It sounds like she was. But she had a contract. And so if we're going to have the government start wading into people's contracts, private contracts that they willingly sign, I think that's a very slippery slope.
Yeah, it's the
No, yeah, I like Rob. I 100% agree with you there. I mean, I feel like basically, I'm glad you guys asked me to come on and allowed me to come on because, I see your point there 100%. And I'm basically just trying to separate from all these folks who are trying to make these things, not mutually exclusive. So whereas you got folks talking about how you should be so ashamed to go to Roncalli, you should be so ashamed to have graduated from Roncalli, how terrible and oppressive of a place it was. And while, yes, like you said, Rob, some of the how it got broken down for Miss Fitzgerald, how it's going right now in that decision, that may not be the best, or we may not agree with it. Roncalli is none of those things that these people are trying to make it out to be. I mean, I've had family that's gone there our whole life. I've gone there. All of my best friends have gone there. It's not an oppressive place. I mean, the toughest decision, the toughest thing that kids face that go to Roncalli is whether they got to wear a blue polo or a red polo that day. I mean, it's a joke to me, all these people who are coming out and are talking about all those things and how awful of a place it is. It's just not. So, and I wish people could look at it in, two hands instead of just having all in one pile of, okay, yeah, they're in a bad spot with Miss Fitzgerald and having her be in the position that she's in now. But that place does a lot of good too.
Do you see the Roncalli family coming to her defense and rallying around her, or how do you think the public sentiment's going to be from the school community?
I think yes, they're coming to her defense, but maybe it's just the cynic in me, fellas. I think that a lot of this kind of commentary and the hate and the bashing that's going towards that school and that community is all people with, one, sour grapes, and two, people who in this world, in this generation, just want to be able to be in on something, just want to be able to feel a part of something, like they're making a difference by having their voice heard on social media.
I couldn't agree more, Joey.
Have you changed your profile picture yet? Because that's how you do something now.
I haven't figured out the button to switch it over. I've been really, that's really been weighing on me of why I can't change it. But no, exactly. I mean, it's just, you got 17, 18-year-old kids, searching for retweets, and I get that. Yeah, they got a point, and if that's how they feel, then good. And is it right with Miss Fitzgerald? No. I mean, but Rob made some good points about it. It is a contract, and that is what she agreed to, and just the whole bashing of the school, it's been near and dear to my heart, and it's near and dear to a lot of people that I know. Hell, my little sister's a junior there, and they had an open school forum on Monday after it all went down, and she got up and kind of spoke those same sentiments of, hey, you got to realize that while you're bashing Roncalli, they do a lot of good, and this is a good place to be. And she got a lot of backfire for that.
So Joey, there.
Go ahead, Dakota.
Okay.
Thank you for allowing us to continue.
So Joey, there has been a lot of talk about the contract, and I totally agree. The contract states that that all educators must uphold the teachings of the Catholic Church, which states that marriage is between a man and a woman. However, some of the counterpoints that I've seen, kind of playing the devil's advocate here, they're saying we don't have any proof that she has brought up to these students in the past 15 years that marriage is not between a man and a woman. She hasn't revealed that she's been married to a woman since 2014 to her students. So what is, where is the hard evidence and the hard proof that she's actually gone against that contract? Because as we found out talking to Chris Spangle from the We Are Libertarians network,
that's a terrible idea.
We just talked to him a minute ago, and he mentioned that the person who actually brought up the marriage certificate to the board is a very anti-LGBTQ plus movement person. So it's like, where do you draw the line? Like, how do you find out that there's hard evidence that she actually did violate the contract, other than just being married and they weaponized this marriage certificate?
Right. Yeah. And in my time in Miss Fitzgerald, that was never a conversation. That was never brought up. That was never a part of what she presented to me or our discussions about anything. I mean, and it wasn't like she displayed it in any way or anything like that. Not that she shouldn't be allowed to or whatever, but
not that there's anything wrong with that.
Like
of course not.
Not that there's anything wrong. Yeah,
another Seinfeld episode.
Exactly. My father's gay. Yeah. But what were we talking about? I don't even know. It's just, I mean, I see people on the Facebook comments you guys mentioned on that post, and then people are trying to start rallies. They're like sending back their diplomas and everything. I'm like, guys, what are we doing here? Like, these are from the same people who would try to go to Southport for a week, and then they'd realize, oh, damn, I had it pretty good at Roncalli. Yeah, I'm not cut out for this.
Right, and there was,
just give me a break.
There was the other article that came out. I believe it was in the Indianapolis Star that there was the student organization that was basically a support group for LGBTQ students, and it was disbanded after a while because of the same teachings that the school guidelines follow, and and they were saying that there were, I think, 2 students that committed suicide, and now they're trying to link that to the fact that their sexuality was oppressed while at Roncalli. And I think that goes back to the fact that you were talking about earlier about people just trying to make these random generalizations and these random connections to this case now that it's finally come forward.
Yeah, and I mean, it is. It does put in a weird situation, for Roncalli, I think, and just in terms of another argument that I've seen is people say, yeah, you're not, marriage is between a man and a woman according to the teachings of the Catholic Church, but then, where do you draw the line with contraceptives, with divorce, with premarital sex, with all of these different things that yes,
right.
The Bible says.
So you're going
as a Catholic.
Are you going to ask him the question now, where he draws the line, Dakota? Is that what you're
No.
doing?
What I was going to do is is the school board going to start going through, and any teenage girl there that her parents have allowed her to have a birth control prescription, are they going to kick her out of the school? I mean, those are the things that you have to think about. Like that's part of the deal, right? That goes against the teachings of the Catholic Church.
Yeah. I mean, that's all part of it. If you want an answer for that, then dial up, Joe Hollowell or Chuck Weisenbach, because I'm the wrong guy. I'm just here to back my school and have a convo with you guys. But it is. I mean, and honestly, Dakota, it's kind of weird to think about how something like this hasn't come up. Yeah, like this is the first time that Roncalli has gotten into a situation like this, right? With how everything has become in the ever-growing, political world and social justice world that we live in, how this is the first instance of any of this showing up.
It's just
so that'll be interesting to see, what kind of crack does this, become. So I don't know. It's going to be. I think it's starting to. Actually, I don't even know. I don't even think it's dying down. I got to talk to my sister who teaches there. She's right across from the guidance counselor office, so her classroom has to be a load of fun for sure.
It's
sure. Yeah.
It's sad that the teachers are worse off, the students are worse off, and the school is worse off than it was a week ago because somebody weaponized a government document. It's just sad. Joey, thank you very much for joining us. If you have anything to promote, episode 32, what's going on in Shot 32 on the Espresso podcast?
We're working on a guest right now, hopefully trying to lock down Krishan Hogan from the Indianapolis Colts and former Marion Knight. He's been doing real well, and he's a local guy, so want to talk with him. We got our Espresso tailgate coming up on September 1st. So that's going to be, we got a location. We're trying to lock that down, but it's going to be kicking off the football season, college football season with Espresso, and be a big party with that. But yeah, that's what we got going on, and appreciate you guys having me on. Roncalli is a good place.
All right, remind all of our listeners where we can find the Espresso podcast.
Espresso, you can get that on the Apple iTunes podcast. Your podcasts on your iPhone or their iTunes for sure. Stitcher as well. Omni if you want to stream it that way. Joey Molinaro on all social medias, and then at Benedict Polizzi and at Espresso Fam on Instagram is where you can find us, fellas.
When are you doing your next shirtless video?
I'm the wrong guy for that too. I'm just the one. I'm basically Ben's pimp at this point. Everybody's like, "You think Ben will do that shirtless?" I'm like, "I mean, yeah, so it's funny." So,
all right, man. We
but actually,
it.
in all seriousness, he did just film one today with Tony Katz. So there'll be another one coming out probably later this week.
Wonderful.
I can't wait until the
All right.
Rob Kendall promo where he does it with him too.
Yeah, we can get Rob
for the
like
Sunday
that,
Rob
for sure.
show. All right, man.
All right, fellas.
I always listen. I don't understand the cultural references because I've turned into an old guy, but and I don't understand the rapping. But it's good time. I understand the sports.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks, Boss Hog.
See you,
Later,
Joey.
guys.
Well, there we go. Dakota tried to get him to just crush his school. That was brutal.
Well,
man.
he makes a good point because, like, my wife went to Ritter, and these schools do a phenomenal job educating kids. That's why parents, in many cases, will mortgage their futures to send their kids there, whether it's Roncalli or Cathedral or Ritter or whatever. I mean, my wife's parents put 4 kids through private school. I mean, it was very taxing, but they do a phenomenal job instilling values in the kids. All those kids they raise are good kids. They're productive members of society. And I think that's what Joey's trying to say. Look, they've got a policy. Whether you agree with the policy or you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. These schools do a ton of good. They help a lot of underprivileged kids who otherwise couldn't afford, that are in awful schooling situations. So keep that in perspective.
Right, and I would never say that there's something wrong with Roncalli. It's just the fact that okay, so a few years ago, a book came out by the author A.J. Jacobs, and it was called The Year of Living Biblically. There's now a TV show on ABC about it. And basically what A.J. Jacobs did was follow every single rule in the Bible to the letter, because his family, he comes from Jewish lineage. So he did that. So no wearing clothes of mixed fiber. It had to be all natural cotton. Couldn't touch his wife if she was menstruating. So couldn't even sleep in the same bed as her. So he followed all these same rules, and it gets me really bad whenever people bring up all these laws in the Bible, and because like drinking, there's all these fundamentalist Christians that say that they disagree with drinking or smoking.
Was Svedka in the Bible, or is that still good?
Right. So there's that old line.
It's got to be from the original recipe.
Yeah. There's that old line that says, "Don't smoke, drink, or chew, or hang out with those that do." Right, and that we've all heard that if we're in small town Indiana, and that crawls all over my skin. So whenever things like this come out, there's serious objection. Yeah, I mean, I have a tattoo that is Leviticus 13:28, and it is the tattoo that says, "Do not tattoo marks on your body."
We got drunk one night, and I told Dakota, "You should get that tattoo." And then 2 weeks later, he's got that tattoo.
Yeah. Well, it's because I'm a Christian myself. I subscribe to all the beliefs of the Bible, and there's a lot of things going along with the modern Christian church and the modern Catholic church that I don't agree with. So whenever things like this come up, I think it's very important for people to speak out about it.
The church is going to have to weather a storm, and that's unfortunately this is there are so many layers to this onion of public dollars, private dollars, social contracts, government being involved in marriage. There's an awful lot going on here to unpack. There's not a right answer. The church, obviously, churches should be able to have whatever policies they want to have. And if you have a Christian school or private school, a Catholic school, then obviously morality clauses and the things they put in, that's their right to do that. The problem they have, and what Representative Forrestal put forward, is probably the right deal, and what's going to catch them is that when you have public money involved, if you have a federal contract for a road work, the next thing that happens is the contractor has to agree that I'm going to have non-discriminatory policies for employment. When you take federal dollars or state dollars for a school, then that logically that's the next step.
So the thing about that is that could encourage these other off the cuff laws that come out from the state about public policy, right? So it's like all of a sudden, if we make this law, then we can't employ this certain contractor. So that's not necessarily a bad thing, I don't think. But you mentioned that on your Facebook page, I believe it was. It's like the off the cuff laws.
Well, they create these crises. They create these policies, and then it's a crisis that must be put out, but we created the crisis, but we're the only people that can solve the crisis. It never ends.
Right, and you brought up, you are a huge fan of Governor Holcomb's metal detector policy.
I love it.
Schools,
I think it was a great idea. I think it's just going to solve all the problems.
Yeah, it is. Like, it doesn't matter who's going to be in there with the metal detectors, right?
Look, I was critical of it from the beginning, but I had a superintendent text me one time, and we were going back and forth on it, and they initially weren't going to take it and ultimately decided to, and the superintendent just said, he goes, I told him, I said, you're putting yourself on the line here now, because now you've taken the bribe money, and
Right.
if something happens on you. And he said, what choice do I have? He says, if something happens and I don't, then why didn't you take the metal detectors? That superintendent recognized this is a waste of money. That superintendent recognized it wasn't going to solve his problem, but he has to take it, because if he doesn't, then it's, why didn't you take it? You didn't do everything possible. So
Yeah, you made a decision not to do it. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so it's advice time with Rob.
Yeah, okay, great.
If I am elected by the wonderful people of Henry County, and I get to take the oath of office on a family Bible, I suppose, I want to know how to be the greatest tax cutter in the history of Henry County, as you were for the town of Brownsburg.
So I get asked this all the time, and I feel like it's like if David Blaine were revealing the secret, once the secret's out, it's not hard. My father-in-law has a saying, and he says, for many things, it's a math equation, right? And local government is not the federal government. It's a math equation. It's revenue in versus revenue spent. And so when I got elected, I campaigned on it. I said, we're going to cut taxes. Everybody said, you can't do it. It's never been done. You can't do it. You can't cut it on a municipal level. I said, bull crap. Sure you can. It's not hard. I barely got out of high school. I was a good college student, but I'm not a rocket scientist. It is not hard. It's revenue in versus expenses out. And you generate revenue in a couple different ways. Number one, you hold your spending in check, which is very important. You don't have to cut spending. You just have to hold it in check. To the money.
Well, yeah, if you live in a place like Hendricks County where it's growing.
but Brownsburg wasn't when I got elected. It wasn't growing, and now it is. It was the third fastest growing community in the state.
The budget for Henry County is what, $14 million?
Yep.
And
yeah.
So
is that a general fund budget, or is that overall?
That's general fund. It
overall.
does include some others, but
So I mean, by comparison, Brownsburg's general fund budget this year, I don't keep track of it as much anymore, but probably somewhere about $10.5–11 million, probably. So I mean, it's
somewhere similar.
Yeah. So he said, look, the dollars we spend are going to be dollars that generate assessed value in the community. So completing the Ronald Reagan from Avon to Brownsburg, that was my baby. The expansion of 267, that was my thing. So you have to, the dollars you do spend, the new dollars you do, it's okay to invest money, but you got to make sure, it's investment that's going to bring assessed value. Because as that assessed value rises, as long as your expenses don't keep up with that assessed value, it's a math equation.
You're going to grow your way out.
You absolutely are. And look, I am a huge proponent of this. It was a huge reason why Pete Miller's not employed anymore. Tax increment finance is not bad if you use it responsibly. So many people hate Carmel and they hate downtown Indianapolis and their tax increment finance districts.
TIFs.
As long as you are putting that money towards infrastructure, whether it's water and sewer, whether it's roads, sidewalks, things that will grow assessed value, which is the intent of TIF, it's not a bad thing.
Which we talked about last week with the real estate agent, John Kindred, using money for actual infrastructure projects, things that make the community look better.
Yeah, and it's not giving money away to private developers. Like, that's not a good use of TIF. What is a good use of TIF, though, is expanding roads. It is putting water and sewer lines, which are the future of communities, down. It is creating infrastructure for businesses as a collective to come who will pay taxes, and infrastructure, and this is key, that everyone will use. People do use roads. People do use sidewalks, so you get the benefit of both worlds.
Is there any future in the political world for Rob Kendall?
No,
you going to be running for governor?
No.
Senate? You going to be trying to kick out old Sleeping Joe?
No, because Ray Zielinski's going to beat him this fall.
Yeah,
Mike Braun.
The auto parts king.
Politico just ran that article with the headline "Sleeping Joe Donnelly."
The
Trumpisms are starting to catch on.
You never say never, that years down the road maybe, but I'm very happy with what I'm doing. I have a very wonderful wife. I'm hopefully starting a family soon, and again, this is something I hope you keep in mind when you win. And one thing, because nobody told me, right? I mean, I was 27. I was running around thinking I knew everything. I'd won a big election, and everybody, hey, this is going to be great. Don't let it consume you. You have a wonderful wife. Make sure that you make time for her, because if I'd have had my wife then that I do now and somebody that could walk me off that ledge, I'd have been a better counselor, because it consumes you and the petty grudges consume you. And it becomes about not only doing it because it's right for the community, but beating that other councilman because you don't like him. It swallows your life, man. It swallows your life, and it is not worth it.
Did you have public enemies on the town council?
Oh, I had so many. I was called a rapist. I was called a Hitler. I got hate mail.
Wow. From the councilman?
No. From
town people.
From
the
town
townsfolk.
So
with the pitchforks in the street.
Real quick from the live chat, Rob. Ron Raman. He wants.
I met Ron today.
He wants to know if skate parks are good use of TIF money.
No, because they don't grow assessed value. TIF.
You don't think so?
No.
We have a state-of-the-art.
I'm not saying there's not a value to them.
Skate park.
But I'm not saying there's not value to them. And I'm not saying that parks and recreation money, or I'm not saying general fund money. TIF has gotten the bad name it has because people have used it for things that don't grow assessed value.
The TIFs are supposed to pay for themselves.
Yeah, they are. And so, a good example is in Brownsburg, they wanted a splash pad. And over and over again, I said, we're not using TIF money for splash pad. We forced them to use food and beverage, which is another total scam that exists. But
we have it.
But you have to do things with your TIF on the up and up. One thing that we did do, because it did grow assessed value, I initially wasn't okay with it, but I got to it, is downtown redevelopment, cleaning up blighted buildings, because I was really concerned about that. But if you don't have a downtown, you guys know that if you don't have a downtown, you're not surviving as a community.
Yeah, I totally agree. Luckily, our downtown is starting to revitalize.
It is. But I would just advise you, because I know you're so passionate about this community, and I know you love it so much that it's easy to get swallowed up in it, and it's not worth it, right? You do your job to the best of your ability, but check out, man. I never checked out in 4 years. I never missed a meeting. I lived it 24/7.
How often did the town council meet?
Twice a month.
Twice a month.
So I had 88 meetings in a row. It was the streak. It was like I was the Cal Ripken of Brownsburg Town Council.
Our city council also meets twice a month, but Jeremiah's got the easy street. County council makes more money than the city council, but only meets once a month.
Oh yeah, you've got the cush job there. You've really got the cush. But
unfortunately, I'll have to burn up 12 vacation days a year to do it.
But you will, right? You will allow it to consume you if you're not careful, and it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing at all.
Well, very good. Well, we've got just a couple months left. We'll see how the race goes.
I will be knocking on doors for Boss Hog of Liberty.
It's very exciting.
I've already decided I'm going to put on a shirt and go knock on some doors, and we're going to
have some fun.
We're going to sway the voters.
I'll keep making more videos.
Yeah, that's perfect. You have a great team.
Ken and Gray.
Guys, I can't thank you enough for inviting me. I also want to, I know she's still watching home, thank my wife. She's really phenomenal about allowing me to go do my stuff, right? And
she let you out of the house to drive to rural Henry County today.
Yeah, you had a heck of a time getting here today, man.
Yeah, it was trouble finding it, but she is wonderful. She's really phenomenal, and I really appreciate things like this when she puts her interests aside to allow me to come out and do these things, because I'm learning. I'm still getting better at it. When you spend 31 years on your own, marriage is a partnership, and sometimes you got to think of the needs of others, and she's phenomenal.
I'm 5 weeks in. I'm still learning. I learned today that when you get married, your water bill doubles.
Oh, yes. Yes, it absolutely does.
That's true.
Yeah, no kidding. I had about a $31 water bill for basically
that's him.
30 for several years, and then I got the first water bill. What the hell is this?
Apparently, we have to wash the towels more than once a month. I don't know.
Yeah, and you got to dry them twice.
Okay. So Jeremiah shamed me for wearing the same polo 2 or 3 times in a row, but I always wear undershirts underneath, and now he's saying that he only used to wash his towels once a month.
That's really
I need to shame him for that.
I have become such a cleaner person since I got married. Haley is phenomenal at saying, no, you can't wear that again. No, you can't do that. You have to wash that. You can't eat things off the floor. You have to occasionally bathe the dog. It's Yeah, marriage has its benefits.
Screw that. I still eat things off the floor.
Well,
5-second rule.
She's the one that has to kiss me later, not me.
We're at the final thoughts portion of the show. It's where we promote things. So I guess you probably ought to promote your dog Bruce's Instagram or something.
Oh, yeah. Bruce has a Facebook page, Bruce Kendall. My other dog, I actually have another dog who's wonderful. She came as a joint package with my beautiful wife, a miniature Schnauzer, Poppy, who has an Instagram account. Apparently, Schnauzers on Instagram are a really big deal. I don't know if you were aware of this.
I did not.
Schnauzers of Instagram. It's like a community. They do all
It sure
this.
is.
Yeah, they do all those sorts of
Absolutely.
things.
One of my best friends has it. Seriously,
yeah, totally.
I avidly follow her.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
And
so,
goats.
Yeah, but thank you guys for letting me be here. I really appreciate it. Keep up the good work. These sort of shows are really important.
Well, we appreciate you coming out here and being. We appreciate the friendship.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't wait until we can get Dakota on the Sunday show.
And I can't wait until Victory Night when I can declare on WIBC Jeremiah Morrell, Boss Hog of Liberty. By the way, what is your name on the ballot going to be? Boss Hog?
No, it's Jeremiah Morrell.
Okay, all
it's
right.
It's on the ballot with the alias.
It's not Jeremiah.
Yeah. It could have been Jeremiah, because you can do whatever you want as long as your name is on there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You can have the middle name.
Yeah.
When we ran for governor with Rex, our running mate was Carl Tagenhorst, and he had Carl K-Tat Tagenhorst, which I don't know how the campaign manager allowed that, but there it was.
The inside joke is that Jeremiah was the campaign manager.
Yeah. in case after 73 episodes you don't know that yet.
Yeah.
Chris Guffey,
Yes.
welcome to the show.
Hello. Yes, I just sit over here quietly. Admire our guest.
The secret is poor Chris has got headphones that don't work, so he
No,
sat
they
through
actually
the entire.
work.
Are they working?
Yeah, they actually worked. I heard him.
It's a miracle. So you did get to hear Joey.
I did.
We promised that you wouldn't be able to hear him.
I was very disappointed because I was like, oh sweet, now I can just look at my phone while everybody else is just talking. But
No,
I had to at least listen.
you never asked any questions.
No, because I don't want to interrupt you guys.
You're a co-host.
It doesn't matter. I don't care. I'm not interrupting. I'm just gonna be like, yeah, go ahead.
All right. Got any stories for us? Anything cool? Anything you want us to do? Anything to plug? This is your platform. You've had all week to prepare.
Have I?
Not really. No. Chase's grandmother had surgery, and we're like, hey, Chris, you want to co-host?
And he actually told me, he's like, yeah, unless she dies. Unless she dies, you won't have to do it. Next thing I know, it's like, hey, you're in. Oh.
They changed the date of the surgery, so yeah.
No, the biggest thing I have to say is Dakota mentioned suicide, and like that's a big topic with me because I've had 5 guys I've deployed with that have committed suicide. So just make sure if you're not feeling good mental health wise, just get yourself. It's not bad to ask for help. So just do that. Reach out to your friends. Make sure they understand that you're there for them, no matter what. So,
very good. Wasn't expecting the
sorry, I took it
the room
serious.
to go all serious, but absolutely, you're completely right. Donnie Morrell did the same thing in his final thoughts as well, as a first responder and talking about some resources that are there. So you're exactly right. Thank you. How do we follow you? Do you want friends on Facebook anymore?
Yeah, I don't care.
Look at him. Show off that new tattoo.
Yeah, I've actually had this one for about a year.
Show it to the camera.
Is that a Post Malone?
No, sorry. No, this is not. Kyle Wardlow was working at Lucky Rabbit, now is at Black Anvil up there in Fort Wayne.
I have 3 tattoos from Kyle.
Yeah, seriously, amazingly talented artist. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I don't know.
He's
it's tattoo
great.
talk, Rob. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not.
And then I got a new Harry Potter one about 3 months ago or something like that. I
saw
done
that one earlier. That was those are really clean lines. Who did that?
Zach Lohorn here locally. Underdogs.
Zach Lohorn did my Leviticus in 1928.
Yeah, so see,
tattoo.
look, it's weird. We have the same tattoo artist.
It is really weird.
Yeah.
Did you go to him during his text special?
Who?
Zach.
No, I didn't know this.
Yeah, he had a $30.
Man, you could have got a discount on a tattoo.
He had $30 text tattoos.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's
Is
why.
it
That's why I
$30
decided
a letter, a character?
No, $30 for the whole tattoo.
Oh,
Yeah.
that would have been nice.
Incredibly cheap
Yeah,
because
it would've
Zach
been
was a
seriously
first
nice.
year apprentice at that time.
He still is. Well, he's an apprentice still. Did he upgrade?
Yeah, he's upgraded now.
like
They're
buying
letting him do actual illustrations and things.
It's like buying the discount bin stuff at Walmart. No, I got the cheap tattoo.
Yeah, I'm not sure things you should skimp on would include your attorney, your doctor, and your tattoo
Well,
artist.
I know Zach from high school, and Zach is an incredible artist, and I've seen a lot of the work that he's done, so I trusted him. But also, at the tattoo shop that he's doing his apprenticeship at is the tattoo shop that is owned by Chad Rao, who did the face tattoos for Post Malone.
Dakota's the ultimate I got a guy.
Yeah.
No matter what it is, Dakota, I got a guy.
Going for it.
Everybody's got a guy.
Yeah, everybody's got. Yeah, I recognize Kyle's style, so I had to bring it up because I didn't want to just ask you straight out.
No, you're fine. I actually I followed him on Instagram, and this was a picture that he had on there, and I was like, "Hey, man, what you say we tattoo that on me?" He's like, "All right, let's go.
All right,
let's meet up."
Yeah, he
I'm
did.
there.
He did my wrist. He did my entire side from armpit to waist, and he did my calf as well.
Yeah. I mean, I know tons of people. A couple of other of my friends went there. And
yeah, he has a very distinct style, and he's very, very good.
Yeah, 4 hours, same chair, no pain.
No crying.
Oh, no pain.
Whenever I got my rib piece done by him, I about passed out. But,
Really?
Yeah.
See, I want that.
Because he got up into, like, really close to my armpit, and it felt like someone was taking a dagger and just jabbing it right into my armpit over and over and over again.
See, I want that. I want that pain.
Okay.
Huh.
Dakota.
I like
Kyle,
the pain.
Kyle, Zach.
Dakota, do you want to use your 5 minutes for tattoo talk as well?
I guess. I don't know. We're already past an hour and a half. Sorry, Rob.
That's okay.
Some of us...
I'll come live with you guys once I get kicked out of the house.
Some of us can't get up and go to the bathroom, so we're just over here swimming.
Yeah, Kirsten Kronk mentioned mission22.com, which is 22 veterans
A day. Yes.
take their own lives. That's
and one active duty member.
Yeah, and my uncle took his own life before I even got the chance to meet him. So suicide's a very big issue for me as well. And if anyone out there is having trouble, seek out help, please.
Message me. I'm sure I'll be tagged in this.
Yeah.
I don't care if I don't know you. I mean, I'm sure we have some mutual friends eventually, somewhere down the line. But just message me. I'll help you, talk you off the ledge, do something.
Yeah.
I'll drive. I don't care.
Absolutely.
Very
Same
good.
here, man. So my final thoughts, of course, are thank you to the Patreon subscribers. Thank you to everyone who donates every month to help us pay for this. You guys are the sole reason that we are getting the studio. That is a really, really big deal because now I don't have to have people coming into my house every week. And I can finally take all the sound tiles down and get this house sold and get moved out to Spiceland. I just can't tell you guys how much I appreciate that.
Just how excited you are to get out of Aaron Dickens' city.
Yeah, I mean, God, Mark Koger is my councilman. He's turned it into a hellscape. It's like Fallout 76 out here. No, Newcastle is a great city to be in. Appreciate everyone once again. Appreciate Clay Morgan at MVP Barbershop for letting us hang up the banner. Oh gosh dang it, I had an actual article planned for this, but I don't remember. I remember. Audrey and I are going to see Dan Cummins, who runs the Time Suck podcast in Chicago this weekend. Really looking forward to that. I know that a few of Time Suck listeners have found us from that podcast because they listen to The Secret Suck as well as I do. And so if anyone that is listening to this before Saturday wants to reach out to me and get hooked up at the at Zany's in Chicago on Saturday night at 9 p.m., then just give me a text message or message me on Facebook, and I'll meet you out there.
Very cool. Thank you to Joey Molinaro for calling in, and it was fun having a call-in segment. Rob, can't thank you enough for making the trip out here.
Thank you, guys.
So, final thoughts from me. I'll be at the Indiana State Fair on Saturday. So find me out there. It'll be hanging out. I got a little 4-hour meeting because
Boss Hog.
I'm a constant volunteer. So I got a little Purdue meeting, but we'll be out there for a few hours hanging out and then checking out the Dwight Yoakam concert. Finally, Dwight Yoakam's coming to town, and I have time to see him. So I'm excited to see him down at the White River State Park. And wish a happy birthday to the lovely Sarah Potter Morrell.
That's right.
Thursday of next week, we'll be recording the show because we're pretty dedicated to it. But it's my wife's birthday, so we'll start. This is officially the start of the Sarah Potter Morrell birthday week. We will see you all.
Well, and hold on a minute. You we're talking about the state fair.
We were so close to being done.
Did I hear you right? You're going to broadcast on your wife's birthday? Okay.
Yeah, that's after all this talk about being dedicated to your wife. And
you can come sleep at my house.
Apparently, she made the mistake of having her birthday on podcast today.
Yeah.
It's every Thursday.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Come on, Sarah. What the heck? But now I forget what I was going to say, Jeremiah.
State fair. You're going to talk about your mom and dad hating the state fair?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't going to talk about that, but
it's a leading question.
I was just gonna talk about the state fair and bring up again that we're looking for advertisers for the show. We were looking to brand ourselves and help brand you, and you can reach thousands of people every week if you decide to advertise on the Boss Hog of Liberty.
Yes, yournamehere.com. All right, we will see you all next week. Next week we have the Meat Lovers Pizza Distinguished Professor from Ball State University.
Yes,
Steve Horwitz.
I've been preparing
his
for
title
Steve.
Changed today because the Ball State Board of Trustees got rid of Papa John's. So
yeah, I've been preparing for that episode for like 3 weeks.
We
so
will
I'm
have
ready.
Steve Horwitz will be making his triumphant return, and Chris Galt will be the OG co-host for We Are Libertarians will be in studio as well.
What are we going to talk about?
I think we're going to talk about whether or not we're supposed to support the local economy at any price, or if it's better just to get the best deal you can and get as much as you can and buy as much as you can.
So how Steve worded it as you shouldn't feel guilty for buying from Amazon.
Yeah. All right. Well, there's your preview. I'm looking forward to the conversation. I'm sure that'll be 3 minutes of what we talk about, and the rest of it we will be as diverse and scatterbrained as we always are. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Boss Hog of Liberty, which is part of the We Are Libertarians network. I am Chris Spangle, and I'm the founder of this network, and I invite you to listen to all of our shows, which you can find at WeAreLibertarians.com or by searching for these in your podcatcher. The flagship show is the We Are Libertarians podcast, where we apply libertarian principles to current events. The Brian Nichols Show is a conversation amongst Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, Independents, as they talk about what is happening in the news. And we have many other podcasts like The Chris Spangle Show, Upward, The Cost, Raw Audio Politics, Miranda's World, and Tad Talk, which is quite a ride. So check all of these out. Go to WeAreLibertarians.com and you can check out all of our great podcasts. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Get our other shows at WeAreLibertarians.com.